All right, today is Tuesday, November 7th. I've been told it's election day because there were kids in the store that did not have school today. So happy
That
day
is
of life.
correct.
Did you have off for that?
No.
Neither did I.
Somehow, even without schools, though, I hit more traffic than ever. It was the strangest thing.
Coming home, I did too because I was trying to get air in my tires, and two gas stations I went to were packed to the gills, and I just had to come straight home.
No air for you.
No, and that was episode 29 of the Breakdown Pod.
See y'all next week.
All right, so on the, I believe the right side of your screen, at least the right side of my screen, is Thomas Frey sitting behind me, chowing down on some Moe's Southwest Grill. Is producer Rue sitting on the floor somewhere in this same room is Kai. I'm Adam Hartog, and this is episode 29, the Gio Urshela episode of the Breakdown podcast, powered by 528 Collectibles. I tripped myself up because for a brief second I was like, wait, it was Geo 29 or 26, but then I remembered that
Glaber's 26.
no, he's not.
Damn it. Glaber's 12?
25.
Who's 26?
DJ.
Damn it. No, you're right. Even when I think I'm right, I'm not right.
Anyway. All right, we have a cool episode today. We're going to recap some of the college football, talk about some of the NFL action, and we're going to do our NFL power rankings as the meat of today's program. So that should be fun. I'm sure there'll be some difference of opinion in both of our lists. We're going to do awards as usual and close with our bold prediction of the year.
Of the week.
Should be a fun episode. Let's get into it. All right, taping this just before 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 7th. It was a cool weekend of college football, for me at least, and for a lot of people. The highlight game was Alabama and LSU. Number 8, Alabama came away with a 42-28 victory over LSU. Jaden Daniels got hurt a little into the third quarter, so the final score wasn't as close as the first half. Made it seem like the game was going to be, but this was an awesome game to watch, as it always is.
Pretty crazy given where both teams were quarterback-wise at the beginning of the year, how they've both kind of figured it out and are very comfortable with who they have.
Yeah, I was very much on record on this program saying that Jaden Daniels was going to hold LSU back, and he has been the only thing moving them forward this season.
Yeah.
So
and Alabama's on their 15th quarterback, so.
Yeah, I mean, the Jalen Milroe thing is cool because he was benched earlier this year, and he was not like a super highly touted guy anyway. So it's not like here's this superstar that lost his job. It was like here's this guy that had his chance to seize the job and didn't take it. But since then, he's totally settled in as their starter. He seems like he's playing with a level of confidence that he didn't have earlier this season, and the team around him seems totally on board with him being their guy, and that kind of shows through everything from Saban's like McAfee interviews during the week to how they play on Saturday and how much they trust him now.
Do you think Bama is accurately ranked currently, or do you think they're better than their ranking?
I think they're probably better than the 8th ranked team in the country, but I understand why it's hard to rank them over some of the unbeaten teams and even some of the one-loss teams like Oregon, who have a better loss than Alabama does. Like it's hard because I guess you can't rank them over Texas because Texas beat them head to head, but I think that they are a better team than Texas. Like I think Oregon right now is better than Washington, but you can't have Washington ahead of them. So
who's the best team in the country in your eyes now that it's not Washington?
I mean, Michigan has probably had the biggest margin of victory cumulatively and by average in all their games, but everybody keeps saying they haven't played anybody. I think Oregon, but I would probably put Georgia ahead of them for now just because until proven otherwise. I mean, how could I possibly? They're on a 26-game win streak, I think.
Yeah. This is kind of a sidebar, I guess I'll say. You said cumulatively, and I had a philosophy professor who always said cumulatively.
That's insane.
And he ruined the word for me forever. Now, every time someone says it, I think of him because it's just like the most ridiculous thing ever.
I generally like mispronunciations. Like I like when people say nuclear. I think it's hysterical.
It's just not right.
No, it's
Yeah.
not right, but I think it's
No.
really fun.
Cumulatively.
Chameleon. It's like, oh, it's more than halfway to chameleon almost. It's
It's
not, but
close. It actually trips me up now. I have to second guess myself whenever I say the word.
when you say it correctly,
Yes.
I almost tripped myself up just saying a different word that started with a C. Correctly, correctly.
Yeah,
Um,
correctly.
but no, I was watching this game on Saturday, and I'm not gonna pretend that I didn't get a little emotional because I had the thought at one point, like a little bit into the second quarter, that for every single year for 12 years, starting in 2012, I've sat down and watched this game because that's when I like really got into college football. And I have a tendency when I get into new sports to feel like I am on like I'm like a newbie kind of, and there's like a lot of history that I don't understand and like I'm missing out on. And I felt that way with college football for a while, but like I was just kind of sitting there thinking about all the like the players I've seen come through in this game, just watching it every year, and like it's it's some of the best college players of all time, and like some of the best players in the NFL currently. Like I've seen like Tyrann Mathieu, Amari Cooper, Odell, Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette. I made a list just on a piece of scratch paper. Minka Fitzpatrick, Quinn Williams, Jamal Adams. Haven't even gotten to the quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Tua, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I forgot Bryce Young, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Smith won a Heisman, and I don't know. It's just like crazy. This one game I keep
Thad
watching.
Moss,
Thad Moss, yeah, I can't believe I left him out.
big snub.
Yeah, it's just cool. It's like holy shit. Like I've seen a lot just watching this one game. This little tradition now.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy how much talent is funneled through both programs.
Yeah, and then a little more on Jaden Daniels. He has. I like that it's officially adopted the program.
Yeah, but now that you told me that you laugh whenever I say it, it's made me start to laugh when I say it.
Well, what's really gonna get me is when you finally embrace that beautiful city in Kentucky's true
I
name.
will never. I will never.
But Jaden
Oh,
Daniels threw 9 games, eight or 9 games, 2,800 yards through the air, 27 touchdowns, 4 picks, 684 rushing yards, and six rushing touchdowns. He probably can't win a Heisman just because there's really no precedent in the modern day of a quarterback of a team that already has 3 losses winning the Heisman at this point. But he should get an invitation as a finalist to New York.
do you think he will?
I think they'll get a nomination. Yeah, I mean, it's Penix, I think, is the front runner still. JJ McCarthy's up there, and I'll be
Penix.
really upset if Penix, and I'll be really upset if JJ McCarthy wins the Heisman. So I'm
Is
hoping
that
I'm
just because
hoping
you don't think he's that good, or
he's just this like blonde haired California kid 5-star recruit that's like the quarterback of like maybe the best team, and it's like fuck this
so you
guy.
don't like him because he's handsome, or
I don't. It's not that. It's just like he just seems like
he is
he
handsome?
seems like he would be the guy that you're scripted to not like immediately in a TV show.
He gives me Zach Wilson vibes.
Yeah, and I think that description applies to both of them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He's like the guy that the new kid shows up to school and then the cool guy like bullies him a little bit. And then
Yeah,
but usually those guys have some sort of arc where they become likable.
yeah, it's like he's the football Nathan Scott maybe.
Yeah, Nathan Scott. I was thinking of who was I just thinking of? Either yeah, I'll think of it.
Was it Louisville?
It wasn't Wool.
Um, and then for Alabama, Dallas Turner also is a problem. 5-star recruit, the number one edge in the 2021 class, number 12 player nationally, projected as a future first round pick, and he was the one that was tackled Jaden Daniels on the play where he got injured, which I think was a clean play, but he was a disruptor all game. And then like one more note, I guess on Milrow, he's been like he's drastically improved. Seems like a clear leader on that team. I have no idea if he's going to be the starter this time next year still. Like a couple of years ago, Clemson, after Deshaun, had this guy Kelly Bryant, who was like a solid quarterback and led them to a playoff game, which they lost to Bama, I think, and then led them halfway through the season with an undefeated record, and then was replaced by Trevor Lawrence, who I almost just called Clever Lawrence for some reason. So I don't know if that's going to be like a the same situation for Milrow, or if he'll actually hold on to this job for a couple seasons.
Was Trevor Lawrence like out of high school as highly touted as he was, right after his freshman year, or was he was?
Yeah, I think he was like like one of the 2 or 3 highest graded quarterback prospects ever.
Okay. So, I guess Alabama would need to be bringing in someone potentially like that. I feel like talent wins out at Bama, so it just depends on if they bring in someone better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like the Lawrence situation, I remember reading articles and it was just like it's so obvious in practice who's better that it's awkward that he's not the starter.
Feel that.
So it could be totally different. Um, Also, over this weekend was Bedlam, the final edition of the annual Big 12 rivalry between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. This one took place at Boone's Pickens Stadium in Stillwater, Oklahoma, which they say has the darkest night sky in America. They say
Okay,
it's neon
that's a
black.
fun fact.
Yeah,
It's what? It's what black?
it's neon black.
That just sounds silly.
It's just like so like
It's so
strikingly.
black that it's light.
Yes, it Pac-Man itself. It went just whoop.
All right, that's in where? Where is that at?
Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Okay, can't say I've ever been.
No, I can say I can't say I never will, but I probably never will.
Yeah, odds are not in our favor.
Now that Bedlam isn't going to be a yearly thing, I probably won't ever go. Which I'm upset is ending because that's one of my favorite rivalry games of the whole season. And now that Oklahoma's off to the SEC, it's not a regularly scheduled game. But I also think that makes this win for Oklahoma State that much sweeter because it's like the last one.
They should just have a non-conference every year.
I agree. My guess is that Oklahoma doesn't want to do it.
Why? Because they lose.
Yeah, I mean they don't lose often. I think the series score is like 90-20 now, but still, it'd be a really tough non-conference game, and I'm not sure that they
Yeah,
are ready to do it yet. Maybe after adapting to the SEC for a couple of years, but they're probably too
chicken.
petrified. Yeah, chicken works. I was going for petrified, but I like chicken more.
Yeah,
It's closer to home, especially in
it's.
the prairies.
I just imagined it like the Jets and the Giants always play like every year.
Not over here though.
No, but they play in preseason,
Oh yeah, you're right.
so
It's definitely doable.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, you're right. You don't want your non-conference schedule to be that difficult.
Yeah, at least not for Oklahoma, who probably will lose a couple games every year in the SEC. If you're like Bama, then I mean, it's hard for the SEC teams. But if you're like a Pac-12, then a big out of conference win helps. Like Oregon beat Ohio State a couple seasons ago, and that was like their highlight win. But if you're in the SEC, you're beating the best teams week after week anyway.
How many teams are going to be in the expanded playoff?
12 next year.
That's so crazy.
It's going to be awesome because I think the first round is going to be on campus, and then we'll still obviously have blowouts when like Georgia plays teams, but we'll have better games at the start. So I'm for it.
If it was 12 teams right now, the Beavs would be in it.
I think they probably would as like an at
They're
large.
12.
They're 12.
Yeah, right now.
That's awesome. The DJ and the Beavs and Trevor and not Trevor Lawrence, Dabo and the Clemson Tigers not.
That would be exciting. I'd be very happy to hear that. I'd also bet all of my money. I figured out what this is from. I was gonna say all of King Midas's silver. It's from Dodgeball. It is a movie quote. It's intentionally wrong. So one time
Uh,
you were like, "Isn't it gold?" And I was like, "I think that's a quote, and I think it's supposed to be wrong."
it's got to be
And
a white.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay, that
It's like
makes
I
a lot
wouldn't
more.
sell you your gym back for all of King Midas's silver.
I know exactly the quote. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, all right, that makes total sense.
This is a callback from like 8 episodes ago that I just remembered to bring up.
But no, I think because they're leaving and going to a new conference, winning this game for Oklahoma State is kind of like UNC beating Duke in Coach K's last game. It's like, yeah, you
Yeah, that
got us a
sucked.
lot, but like left with a sour taste in your mouth.
That sucked. As a Duke guy, that really sucked.
Yeah, I was happy. Um, Good game though.
Yeah, just like I don't know, man. To go out like that's tough.
Yeah, that I mean Duke was probably the best team in the country that year. Up with Paolo and some of those other guys. I don't know that if you play that 10 times, I don't think UNC wins more than two.
It felt like they weren't so much a team that year, more like a collection of individuals.
I mean UNC had guys that had been around for way longer. Baker
Exactly.
was a junior, I think. Uh, four no Downs was no Downs was a football player. Cook no Love Caleb
Yeah,
Love Caleb Love right.
that sounds right. Yes, that's him.
They were all like
He's on
upperclassmen.
Arizona now.
The
Caleb
Wildcat.
Love. Yeah, the Wildcats.
I think he was gonna transfer to Michigan, but then changed his mind.
That's exactly right.
I'm starting to know to learn college basketball things.
Well, that COVID year let these guys play for like ever.
That's true. Yeah. Tell Rocky Lombardi's still starting for NIU
I'm pretty sure Perry Ellis is still at Kansas.
with Frank Mason,
Yeah. Perry Ellis was at Kansas for no less than 10 years.
dude. We were like in diapers when that guy got his first minutes for the Jayhawks.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that he was at Kansas for 10 years.
Back to college football. Oklahoma, I think, are frauds now. They had that huge win over Texas, but then they struggled with their last three games. They had a close loss to close win to UCF, who missed the 2-point conversion to tie it. At the end, they lost at home to Kansas and then dropping this one. This isn't like a bad loss because it's Bedlam and this shit happens, but they've still drastically improved season over season. I couldn't tell if he was coughing or laughing. It's overall a success from last year, year two of the Venables era. And then on the other hand, Oklahoma State started 2-2 with a home loss to South Alabama. That like is panic button times 10 kind of material. And then
Mm-hmm.
they've totally righted the ship. They're 6-2 now. Ollie Gordon has been awesome for them. The running back, 137 yards and 2 touchdowns against Oklahoma, and he has been the engine of their turnaround.
It's the progress that we needed to see under Brent Venables, but they're not there yet.
I mean, well, they need to get you out to Norman for them to be like there yet.
Well, they know what they need to do.
Enter the Jason Dominguez mini helmet contest.
Not that, but that would help. Then I'd even put my issues with Dylan Gabriel's face aside if that was the case.
And then Oklahoma State currently on track for a Big 12 title game matchup with Texas. They both have one loss in the conference, so it would be them facing off in Dallas as of now.
That'd be a fun game. I'm all about Mike Gundy.
Mike Gundy's got some of the best hair in sports.
He's a man. He's 40.
I think he's got to be at least like 56 now. But yeah, that was an iconic quote.
He's exactly 56. He does have great hair. At that time, he didn't have such great hair, though.
Now he just had normie hair.
Yeah. Now he does have beautiful hair.
If the kind of hair that if it hadn't been shown on sidelines nationally, the progression of it growing, most people would probably assume is fake.
He's got a lot of it. It's extremely. It almost looks fake, honestly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's extremely thick.
Rue, have you seen this
Good
guy's
for
hair?
him.
Yeah, he's been there forever. There were some rumors that he was on the hot seat a couple weeks ago when they were 6-2, or 2-2. But
Wow.
all that talk, even if it probably wasn't legit. But either way, it's been silenced. Silenced. now.
It's been almost 20 years. And he played there.
Yeah, so it was a
I
homecoming
didn't
when he got the job.
I didn't know that.
Is this the only Cowboys in football that you don't despise?
Off the top of my head, yeah.
Oh, I forgot about Wyoming. Actually, sorry.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with Wyoming.
If you had to rank your Cowboys,
It
and
would
you
probably be
have to put Billy the Kid on there too somewhere. It's got to be those three teams and Billy the Kid.
probably, I guess it would be Mike Gundy and OK State number 1.
Okay.
I think Billy the Kid would have to be 2, then
Okay.
Wyoming, then Dallas.
I like that order.
I think that's the correct order for me.
It feels right.
I can't put anyone over Mike Gundy's hair.
No, not even Billy the Kid, who I think is from Wheeling, Oklahoma.
He was born in New York actually. Billy the
Where?
Kid. He was born in, it just says New York City. I mean, it was 1859, so maybe Manhattan. His name's not even Billy, by the way, or William.
What is it?
That's an alias, William Bonney, but his real name is Henry McCarty.
Henry the Kid?
Well, he became Billy the Kid under his alias.
He should have gone by Henry the Eighth.
He was arrested for stealing food when he was 16 in 1875. 10 days later, he robbed, quote unquote, a Chinese laundry and was arrested again but escaped. Then he fled the New Mexico territory into the Arizona territory, and he began to call himself William Bonney, and that's when he became Billy the Kid.
Bonner.
No, that's Matt.
They hung him eventually too.
I mean, I didn't look into his death, but I was just giving you the spark notes for those who wanted to learn more.
I'm actually mostly going off Billy Joel's song, Ballad of Billy the Kid, when I say they hung him. And the
Okay.
judge said, string him up for what he did.
I think he was shot.
Oh,
Yeah, he was shot.
By Pat Garrett.
No relation to Jason.
Well, all right. So since we're on the topic of Jason Garrett and coaches that cannot get super talented rosters to the next level, USC lost again.
Yeah, that was foreseeable.
Yeah, I mean, when you're letting up half a century to Washington, final score 52-42.
I have a question for you on this game, actually.
Yeah.
The reaction Caleb Williams had after the game, where he was like pretty hysterically crying, like with his family. I saw it caused a lot of debate. Like some people were on Twitter, primarily. Some people were like, "This is the exact kind of heart you want your player to have," and then there were other like former players like, "This is the total opposite for me. This makes him undraftable." Where do you fall on that?
I tend to think that the players that are like, this makes him undraftable are more share the mindset with, for example, somebody like Brian Cushing, who thinks that anybody that drinks Starbucks is a sissy. And it's a little
Yeah.
like, hey, it's cool to be okay. It's cool to be upset when you lose.
Yeah, I think it's toxic masculinity kind of stuff. Like you can't show any weakness type of deal. Like keep in mind this. How old is Caleb Williams? 21, 22 tops.
Oldest 21.
Turns 22 in 11 days. So he's still like a kid, and he just going through a rough time right now. He put his heart and soul into this game, did everything he could, and lost.
I don't really like. Do you not want your quarterback to care? Like, why would people have a problem with this?
I gotta try to find.
I saw it, so I know you're not like pulling this out of your ass.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not. I definitely didn't make this up. I don't know who the player was. It was probably one of those like former offensive linemen who now work for Fox Sports. That would be my guess.
It's
You
like
know what I
Kurt.
mean?
I don't even know.
Yeah, or like who's the other one?
Yeah.
He's not even allowed on TV anymore. I don't know. I can't remember his name. He's allowed on TV, but no one likes him anymore. He became like super political. What is his name? He wears a Whitlock. It's Whitlock.
Jason Whitlock. Yeah,
Jason Whitlock. Yeah, everyone hates him. I think
Yeah.
it might have been him who did all this.
That doesn't shock me then.
Yeah. But I was just curious how you felt about it.
I think it's just ridiculous that people would have an issue with that.
While we're here, because I don't think we talk about it later, are you still all in on Bears taking a quarterback?
I assume it's gonna happen, yeah.
Okay. And which one do you want?
If they have the first pick, I want Caleb Williams.
Okay. He's falling down draft boards. So,
Yeah, you know what? I just don't want the Bears to be the team that passes on the guy that like is everyone's number one because they think they're smarter than everybody, and then they like take Drake May, who ends up being really like solid, and then Caleb Williams is awesome, and then I'm gonna be. I just don't want to have to deal with like haha the Bears.
I get that.
I'd rather take
I,
Caleb Williams and he'd be the worst quarterback I've ever seen than take someone else because I don't trust them.
then play it safe, basically.
Yeah, I don't even know if I don't know what playing it safe is. Like I feel
Me
like
either.
this is just like when somebody's supposed to go first for this long, all you have is time to poke holes in them.
It happens every year. They
Yeah,
did it with Trevor Lawrence.
yeah. It's usually like when there's two guys that are supposed to go 1 and 2 for a while, one of them always gets knocked down. Like people didn't know when CJ Stroud was going to go because they were saying
Mm-hmm.
he had like a high floor but low ceiling.
Yeah, that's what everyone was saying about him.
Soon the Giants are going to take a quarterback.
I sure hope so.
It's hard to imagine it's not curtains on the Jones era.
I think it is. I think
Do you
it's
think
safe
he'll
to
have
say.
a team next year?
Yes,
He
I
would have
think
a 70 million dead cap hit otherwise.
the structure of the deal is that they can get out at after 2 years, and so I think they do a not so much an Alex Smith Mahomes thing, but more of an Eli Daniel Jones kind of thing. I know it wasn't like exactly the same, but kind of.
What about like an RG3 Lamar kind of thing?
How much
I
was it even RG3? No, it wasn't even RG3. It was what's his face? Flacco.
Flacco.
Yeah.
I just meant like because of the injury.
I guess that's fair. I just think it'll be they'll probably if Daniel Jones comes back healthy, it'll be his job to start and then he'll lose it at some point. And if he gets hurt, like Tannehill and Levis.
Is it possible that he can be healthy on time to start?
I think so.
Okay, I didn't know that.
By week 1, it's they say ACLs are like 6 months, I think.
I guess now, yeah, that makes sense. Then the last couple things I have in this Washington game, it wasn't a Michael Penix spectacular. It was all Dylan Johnson in this one. The Washington running back ran for 256 and 4 touchdowns. He had never broken the 100-yard plateau before this. Washington has remaining games against Utah, Oregon State, and Washington State. And I guess it seems like at this point, the only thing that can keep them out of the playoffs is a loss before the conference championship, because if they go undefeated through the conference championship and drop a game, it's probably going to be like TCU last year where they get in anyway. And then USC fired Alex Grinch, their defensive coordinator, after this game, which was overdue.
Been saying they need a massive overhaul on defense.
Ruse got a fun fact.
Yeah, you can just come closer and say it so we can hear it.
Iowa's defense in the past 2 seasons let up 284 points. USC's defense in the past 6 games has let up 265.
They should hire whoever Iowa's got.
They're going to be playing in the same conference next year somehow.
Yeah, start poaching their talent. Yeah, it makes no sense.
Or just start pulling a Michigan and scouting in person, dressing in costumes to do it. Did you see the picture that came out of supposedly Connor Stallions on the Central Michigan sideline dressed in all CMU gear, and he had those sunglasses with like the little blue dot in the corner that's like recording stuff.
Yeah, I'm seeing this now. I don't see the blue dot.
It's in top right corner of his sunglasses. Top right for him.
I mean, it looks exactly like him.
Yeah. And then
But how would he be there?
Well, that's the thing. Afterwards, Central Michigan was like, we're investigating who this was on the sideline, and everyone
They
was
don't
like,
know who he is.
no, that was the thing. Everyone was like, if you don't know who it is, like,
Shouldn't someone
Clearly,
have said something?
yeah, I mean, even I guess just everyone assumed that they knew, but like the fact that afterwards they weren't like, oh yeah, we know exactly who that is. Like,
Yeah,
who else could it be?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Wild.
It's, yeah, and unfolding every day. So it seems like a lot of experts are saying that the NCAA and the Big Ten aren't going to do anything about it. They say the Big Ten, no way they do anything because Michigan might be their best chance in a national championship, so they're not going to shoot them in the foot until after, if at all. But very funny story.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm glad you told me about that. I hadn't seen this.
Yeah, can't script that.
No, you really can't.
And then I was gonna talk about the Georgia Missouri game a little bit, but we kind of did just mentioning that Georgia has 26 straight wins. Missouri's not bad. Our guy's still searching for a signature win, but I mean, Georgia's
Drinkwitz just can't get over the hump.
no, and this is the toughest hump to get over right now, so it's understandable.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
maybe another time.
yeah, next season.
Yeah, it's just not their year.
That's all I have on college football, really, unless you got anything else.
No, I don't. Let's go into NFL.
Sweet. So this week we're gonna do another kind of blended NFL thing because the meat of our episode is going to be power rankings. So we did a uh, disappointment and two surprises. So do you want to start us off with one of the surprises?
Yeah, so our first surprise is the Houston Texans and their miraculous come from behind win over the Buccaneers. CJ Stroud with a absolute statement win. He had hit the rookie wall a little bit last couple of games, and then in this game he absolutely busted through it, tore down the wall and dropped a nuke on it, and showed that not only is he the best rookie quarterback in this class, but he's maybe already a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
I was gonna ask where do you have him in terms of trade value, league wide, and quarterback ranking?
Trade value league wide.
Trade
He
value
might.
league wide, you don't have to give me an exact spot, but you could give like brackets if you want, or like
It's.
subgroup.
I guess it's a little hard to say because, like, inherently the quarterback position has more value than like any other position, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I assume he would have more trade value than like Justin Jefferson, right?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's close.
There's like a lot of there's almost any receiver you could have said there, and I would have said yes.
I know that's why I. So he's up there. All right. So to put it into like NBA terms, because that's easier for me to say, he's gotten into the now like the Luka tier of like what you'd have to give up to get him.
Okay, and
So
then
like, Luka's not Jokic, but you'd still have to give a king's ransom to get him.
pretty much an unheard of trade package.
Yeah, I think so.
And then that doesn't even really like factor, or that's not what I'm how I should phrase it, but that there's more to consider because he's on his first half year of a rookie deal. So in terms of like
Exactly.
positional advantage and value,
Mm-hmm.
salary wise, like there's not many people that do compare. Like I would still take Mahomes even with the $50 million a year contract, but like
Mm-hmm.
not to keep coming back to this guy, but I would probably take Stroud over Dak with his $40 million a year contract.
He's probably with like Herbert.
Yeah, so I have Herbert as like consistent top four, bordering on top three sometimes quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on Herbert.
And I would just need to see a little more like, let's see you make it through your first NFL season to put him there. But I would put
But
him
I'm
ahead of,
saying in terms of with Herbert's contract already being what it is,
yeah,
factoring
true.
in all that encapsulates that.
I'd probably go Herbert still,
But it's close.
but I would go Stroud probably over like
I feel like Trevor Lawrence.
I'd probably go. I don't know. I'm a big Trevor Lawrence guy. I'd probably
I
go Trevor.
know. But so that's what I'm saying. He's right in that. He's probably first one out.
Yeah, like there's a real argument maybe for him to go over like Hurts and Lamar.
Yeah, that's tough because Lamar already won an MVP.
Yeah, and is playing as better than he ever has now, and just one of the counting stats to show it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, but he's just he's so valuable and he's so good already.
Yeah, and rookie record, like you said, 470 yards, 5 touchdowns. He had 2 game-winning drives, and he's not doing this with a good team. And he has 1 interception, 14 touchdowns, and quarterbacks that have 1 interception halfway through the year usually are not playing the way this guy is. Like he's, especially if you're a rookie, if you have 1 interception, usually you're barely pushing the ball downfield. But he is like, they're utilizing play action a lot, but it's deep play action. And then, for example, on the comeback drive, like it's all shotgun, and he's throwing over the middle of the defenses and like splitting gaps on the sidelines to hit Tank Dell to keep the clock stopped. And it's just like not
Is
the
that
kind of
42 seconds? 42 seconds he had?
yeah, like about that, yeah.
Yeah. And like I was like, all right, he got the field goal. So like he did his job. And then forgetting about that their kicker was hurt. But
Yeah.
then you cap it off with like just not an amazing play, but like a great throw for the touchdown, for the game-winning touchdown is like incredible. It was incredible.
Yeah, he's never played with more than half his offensive line healthy. He's got his best weapons are Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, a rookie. Who else? Who else am I
They
missing?
didn't have their starting running back in this game.
You mean my fantasy starting running back?
Yes, that is who I mean.
Yeah, Damian Pierce out. So it's just the shit this guy's doing is unprecedented, and he's got four more years of cheap, relatively team control. This is basically what the Chargers had with Herbert, but then they hired Brandon Staley to waste his entire rookie contract.
Yeah, I think D'Amico Ryans is off to a great start.
I do too. I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah, turned around that whole culture and everything like that.
Yeah, and the Texans are not dead for a playoff spot, which is crazy to think about.
No, they're not, but I did cash in my division title.
What did you cash it out at?
So I put like 15 on it and I cashed out for like 9. I don't think they're going to win the division anymore. The Jags went on like a pretty solid win streak, and so it would just be a lot to overcome. So I was just taking my money back.
Jags are really good, but I guess the focus of today's celebration is Houston.
Yeah. That was a very surprising win, and like the Bucks defense has been pretty stout all year. So for them to put up those numbers, it was very impressive all around.
There can't be many fan bases that are happier right now than the Texans. Or like, they can go. If you're a Texans fan, you can go to bed every single night, knowing and just be like, CJ Stroud is my quarterback. Sleep like a baby.
If I was a Panthers fan, I'd be fuming.
Yeah, I mean, especially because when they traded up, the whole narrative was they did it. They're not 100% sure who they're going to take, but the clubhouse leader right now is CJ Stroud.
Crazy.
Yeah. See, this is what I don't want to happen with Caleb Williams.
I know.
And
I understand it.
Yeah.
In my whole like football viewing life, I've never experienced the feeling of drafting the guy at quarterback. Like when they drafted Eli, I was so young. Just like I was just so new to being a football fan. Like I don't even remember the Eli draft.
You were
Like
7.
I was 7, and like that was probably right when I started to even like comprehend football. And like I didn't want Daniel Jones. So it just like I haven't had that feeling, and I want to.
You haven't had like, let's go get this guy. Cool, we got him.
It hasn't been like, all right, this guy is a bona fide stud. Like we want this guy. He's the guy. We haven't had that.
Fans
Like
holding up signs at training camp. Welcome this guy.
Yeah. Like I want that. I want the Giants to be horrible, and I want to experience that.
You got your wish that the Giants are horrible.
No, I know. But I want them to be horrible and get like a top 3 draft pick.
Yeah, the wishing doesn't end there, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
As a Giants fan, I need these guys to stink.
Yes.
End of plan.
Yeah. There's contingencies.
All right, so then our second surprise that we pick for this episode is Josh Dobbs, the astronaut, and the Minnesota Vikings coming from behind to take down the Atlanta Falcons, your favorite team, your
I
favorite
really
coach,
like the team. Can't stand the coach.
shaved
I
mustache.
I saw. Now that he shaved it, he looks worse.
I
You
told
were
you that.
right. You were
That's
right. You were right. I know. I'm giving you credit right now. You were right. He
It
looks
doesn't
better
usually
with the
play
mustache.
that kind of stash, but it did.
Yeah, he looked better. I saw. I think I might have even sent it to you. Is like,
Play Bijan or
yeah,
shave.
play your top 10 draft picks or shave your mustache, and it was the picture of him without his mustache.
Um, but this is a bad loss for the Falcons because they were actually like functioning beyond what it seemed like before, but now this is kind of like a wheels have fallen off kind of loss. Like shit could derail from here. And then on the other side, what Josh Dobbs did, like I've never seen that before. He was I'm sure you saw the clip of him like working on the cadence on the
Yeah,
sideline before.
he'd never taken a snap from that guy.
Yeah, they had no idea what he would say to like signal one
No,
and ball.
I heard this. I don't know if you heard this, but he would get the plays in his headset. He'd relay them to his team. They would explain to him what's going to happen, and then up until like the ball is snapped or up until they get to the line of scrimmage, I can't remember their head coach's name right now, but he would be in his O'Connell would be in his ear, like telling him like what's about to happen, so he could like understand it, like before every play.
I can't even imagine that because that's not just like, okay, I got it. Now I'm going to see that happen. You have to process what he's saying well, like
Yes.
checking what the defense is doing and like you're adjusting your protections and then remember what you were just told.
Yeah, I saw a breakdown. It was like Josh Dobbs not trusting what he's seeing. It was actually on like his sick like 25-yard rushing touchdown. He had like two guys wide open, but like he I guess like processing what's going through his head, what his players are doing, and what he's seeing the defense. Like he just tucked it and ran it because like he literally just couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, if you don't know what to expect, then you could see a guy wide open and like you just in your
Exactly.
mind, it's like not he's like not there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and also the what was it? Was it the first play? It was first safety?
His first play, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
insane. It was amazing for Dobbs, and it was a great win for the Vikings, who are once again like a team that's very easy to root for.
they're the 7th seed in the NFC right now.
Yeah, so like amazing for them, but also really good for the Falcons because I think this was a big we are going to fire Arthur Smith game. Because how on earth do you justify every fucking game running an end around to Jonnu Smith in the red zone on like the
Or just
two?
or hammering Algier.
It's unbelievable, dude. It's unbelievable. If I was the GM, I'd be so pissed off. It's like, why am I drafting you all these amazing players if you're not going to use them?
Especially because he is for sure heavily involved in the draft process.
It's, yeah, yes. It's also, though, this isn't like Quentin Johnston not getting the ball for the Chargers. It's not like that because every time Bijan gets the ball, he's producing. I think he's averaging 5 yards per carry.
I saw that Bijan was mic'd up for the game Sunday.
Oh,
I
wow.
haven't
I
wa-
didn't see that.
I haven't watched the whole thing, but so far the first couple minutes are just him like talking to people on the sidelines.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't
He
fucking
didn't play.
play. He got less
Yeah.
touches than Algier.
Oh yeah, because he fumbled and he put himself in the dog hizzle.
He was already in the dog hizzle.
It's not a place you ever want to be.
No,
Or Smith's dog hizzle.
definitely not. That's where his mustache is now.
But yeah, this. You're right. This is the kind of loss that we've seen derail coaches. Like it didn't happen in the same year, but Baker came in on no notice, more than this, but basically no notice last year and beat McDaniels and the Raiders. And then ipso facto, Josh McDaniels is now unemployed.
Remember I told you either last week or a couple weeks ago that like Arthur Smith is just totally condescending to like every person who ever asks him a question and like acts like he's better than everybody.
Yeah.
Well, Kurt Warner tweeted like some analysis on the Falcons and, that he didn't like what he was seeing from the quarterback and yada, 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 and their play calling, etc. And Arthur Smith came out. He was asked about it. And he said, I'm sure he gets paid a lot of money. I could give a rat's whatever, unless you're in the building with our guys, know what's asked of them and what's really going on. He said, maybe a mistake happened. I think sometimes people get a microphone and the further they are away from the game, they think they know everything. Maybe he can solve some of the world's problems too. It's just like, this isn't Joe Schmo fantasy owner that is upset about you not playing Bijan. This is a Hall of Fame quarterback who accomplished more than you have ever accomplished and is like giving analysis. It's his job to do so. Why are you such a dick about it?
Didn't you say he said like some climate change answer last week too?
Yeah, but that was about a reporter. This is about Kurt Warner.
It sounds like he's just a little panicky, Arthur Smith now.
But it's just like, dude, you are a football coach. That is your profession. Why are you so offended by football questions? It is your job to answer them.
I don't get it because like I understand earlier when they're like actually winning, but not how people want them to.
Yes.
But now they're losing because they're not playing any of their good players, and he still won't answer the questions, and it's stupid.
Exactly. Like, I can understand being frustrated that people are asking you all these questions while you are winning games and you're doing really well. Like, that's fair because you're getting results and you're doing it your way. But when you stop getting results, you have to answer for yourself.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, he sucks, dude. I hate him. I hope he's gone.
It's like why Yankees fans hate the current administration now because they're not held accountable for anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Do you want to go to the disappointment?
Yeah. So our disappointment of the week is the Seahawks of Seattle after they got absolutely massacred. I heard someone describe it as disemboweled by the Baltimore Ravens.
That's good. I guess we know who the most dominant bird of flight in the NFL is.
Well, it's certainly not.
Actually,
yeah. I was gonna say it's not the Cardinals, but then I remember the Eagles.
Anyway,
one of the most.
Yeah, I mean this game kind of set me back on my Geno opinions a little bit because I've for a while have thought Geno is good, but I'm leaning a little more towards okay now.
I think Geno is okay. I think Geno is okay. Okay feels harsh, but I was gonna say solid, and he does some things really well. Like he doesn't take a lot of sacks. I know he's like one of the best in the NFL at avoiding sacks, and like that's like a skill because statistically, when a team takes a sack, it's like what's the orders of magnitude more likely to punt the ball on that drive. Like
it's a drive killer, yeah.
Almost every time if a team takes a sack, it's a drive killer, and avoiding that is a skill and it's a valuable skill. But he's not doing. It felt like last year he was doing all the easy things really, really well, like making the right reads and like making the simple and easy throw. It feels like now he's making mistakes that like I see Sam Howell make, where it's just like, you can't do that. You've like, and for him, Geno, he's been in the NFL for far too long to be making rookie type mistakes.
It's almost like now he isn't playing to be the guy there. So it's like a little less, I got to be perfect.
He got too comfortable almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I still think he's Like, I've heard some Seahawks fans are calling for Drew Lock to get put in. I don't think that should be the case.
That's not the answer.
No. I also don't think like they need to draft a quarterback. I just I think he's not as good as we may have thought,
I
or
agree, and
some may have thought.
I still like that team. Like I love JSN. I like DK. I like Lockett. I like both their running backs. I like a lot of their pieces on defense. Their cornerbacks are legit. Their defensive line gets solid pressure, and I think that they're still a good team. And like we'll come back to them a little bit in the power rankings. And part of it is just Baltimore is this good, and now they do this to teams. But still, coming off like a couple rocky showings over the last couple of weeks, this was a real opportunity for the Seahawks to measure themselves against one of the best teams in the league, and they didn't even look like they belonged on the same field.
Yeah, it was definitely at the very least a disappointing performance, which is why they are our disappointment of the week.
It all comes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much more on them.
No, I'm ready to move on to our meat.
Cool. All right, so for the meat of today's program, Tom and I are going to do our NFL power rankings. We picked 10 teams. We're going to talk about them one by one. I guess I can go first if that's cool.
Yeah, go for it.
I'd be surprised if we have a different one, but first in my power rankings, I have the New England Patriots. I have Philly.
Yeah, I got the Eagles one. I still think, honestly, like they're not. I don't even. I feel like they're still not playing to their full potential. You are frozen on my screen. Okay,
Oh,
you're back. No, you're good. You're good. You were frozen, like very smiley for a second there.
I made
So
myself laugh at the Patriots joke.
no, that was a good joke. But I still feel like the Eagles have another gear that they can hit, but they've been the best team in football all year. They've got very lucky this week with they very narrowly missed a serious Jalen Hurts injury.
I agree that they haven't hit their top gear, which I think is why it makes them so scary. The fact that they have been top to bottom, the most complete team in the league. They're seventh in EPA per dropback for passing offense, fourth in EPA per rush. And then on the other side of the ball, they're just as good, ninth in EPA per rush allowed. Their pass defense struggles a little bit. They're 21st, but that's a
Yeah,
product.
you can throw on them.
Yeah, they entered the season with subpar depth at key positions like safety and cornerback. They're a little thin too. Their pass rush is still lethal, and guys like Jalen Carter are coming into their own still. He's on pace, I think, to finish with 8 sacks, which would put him with just Donald and I want to say Sapp this over the last like 30 years for D tackle. No, Sue for D tackles with eight sacks as a rookie. But I mean, they have apparently a good coach, even though I thought he was a good clown in his like introductory press conference. And the other crazy thing is Sirianni. This is his third season ever as a head coach. Hurts was a second round pick in 2020. He's 25. Like they're not supposed to like pull out these close, hard fought wins as routinely as they do at this point.
Honestly, like them having Jason Kelsey pretty much gets them an extra play every single drive, at least an extra play.
Yeah, their best play
The
succeeds at like a 95% clip.
and it's something that as much as other teams try it, they just can't do it. And the secret ingredient is Jason Kelsey. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine he'll be there. I mean, even next year, he thought about walking away this season, so we'll see how this one goes. But for the meantime, this could be as good as this offense functions. So it's a joy to watch now, even not as an
I know.
Eagles.
He's just still so good. So it's like I know he's old, but like he's just still so good. Like he doesn't have to retire. But
I get it playing interior offensive line though. Like you take
oh
you take
yeah. And he's gonna have a very successful media career after the fact. But it's just
100%.
most people retire because they don't have it anymore, and he's still at the height of his powers. It seems.
Yeah. So they're definitely the best team in the league as far as I'm concerned right now.
Yeah, they deserve to be number one.
Who do you have second?
I have the Chiefs too.
Okay, so we differ here.
You have the Ravens too.
Yeah, I have Baltimore.
So I think there's an argument to be made either way, but the difference for me is Patrick Mahomes.
Hmm.
The Chiefs defense, while maybe not quite as good as Baltimore's, is really, really good. They're probably
Yeah,
a top 5 maybe unit on the year. They're like stout. And you pair that with the best quarterback in football and the best tight end in football. And I know their receivers are shaky at best, but I like Pacheco. They're not good on third and short, which is weird. And they're not good in the second half, but they're going into their bye. So I feel like if there was ever a time for the Chiefs to figure it out and for Andy Reid to figure it out, it would be right now. And I know that power rankings are not really figure it out time, but they've only lost 2 games all year. One was the first game of the season, and it's, against a good Lions team, but it's the first game of the year, and Travis Kelce wasn't playing. And their other loss was was a fluky one against the Broncos where Mahomes had the flu. So I'm not saying they should be undefeated, but they very easily could be. And so I can't really knock them.
I have them third, so it's not a huge difference.
Yeah, I
This
have
is
the
the
Ravens third.
this is the first time that they've had an above average defense in Mahomes' entire career, which is terrifying. I would agree they're a top 5 defense. Passing wise, they're third with negative 0.14 EPA per dropback for opposing teams. And the Chiefs kind of suffer from like the Nas disease a little bit, where at least on offense, because they're just being compared to themselves when in reality they're still a top 5 offense by like all metrics this season, and it just doesn't seem the same because of how good they've been at their peak. So it's really hard for me to not put them, like, I can't argue with them being second. Like I said, I have them third, so kind of right there.
They're still my pick to probably win the Super Bowl.
With Mahomes, I have no good reason to pick against them. Like, I'm going to be picking them come the playoffs because that's my rule is don't pick against Mahomes.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand. Like the Ravens are awesome. I have them 3. They've been dominant, and it's not just dominant like the Dolphins beating up on bad teams. They've been dominant against solid to good teams, and they're doing it. Like Lamar hasn't even been doing much the last couple of games. Their defense has just been that good, and their run game's been that good. So they're a very complete team. It seems like they've got it figured out on both sides of the ball. Obviously, Harbaugh's a great coach. They're good all around. So it's hard to knock them. So it's not that, but then they are, to me, they're behind the Chiefs, but not by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the one of the big deciding factors, like you said, is that Ravens defense. Like, we started the season heaping praise on the Browns for their unit, and it's still been really good. But the Ravens are allowing a touchdown this season on 8.9% of their drives, which is second all time behind the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, who's considered like one of the best defenses ever. They just made a 30 for 30 on all those guys, the Bullies of Baltimore. And the play calling, we've never seen the offense this dynamic since Monken came in. They're really experimenting with the new weapons they added all around Lamar. The run game is flourishing. Gus had, I think, 3 touchdowns last game. And like you said, Lamar doesn't need to do the heavy lifting, and his counting numbers aren't going to reflect somebody who's having one of the best seasons in the NFL this year, but he certainly is. And they look as dangerous as I can remember them looking really since like the early to mid 2000s.
They're a real contender.
It's good. It's cool to see. That division is insane.
Speaking of that division, 4, I have the Bengals.
Of the AFC North, yeah, I have Cincinnati 5. No, I actually have them 6. I lied to you.
Oh, don't lie to me. Yeah, I've got them 4. They started off super slow, obviously, as we have as we know and as we've discussed many times over, again, this comes down to they've got the quarterback, and for me, that does a lot. And they seem to be firing on all cylinders right now. I think they're rounding into the Bengals that we know and love. And the craziest part is that they're last in their division.
That is crazy. At 5-3.
They are 5-3 and they're last in their division. Yeah.
I have them 6 just because I don't really know. I guess just because I wasn't ready to put them over the two teams I have at 4-5, which in this case are Detroit and Jacksonville. But they certainly look like they've rounded back into their championship contending form. Their defense has been insane over the last couple of weeks. And like we've talked about before on this show, that the Burrow calf injury magically healing is like one of the like crazier season changing things that has happened in sports injury
Mm-hmm.
wise.
Could have. This is the 1 out of 100 result.
Yeah, but they're going to be tough to beat. Like Lou Anarumo has that defense just killing people again. Well, fuck.
Not quite.
No, that was T Higgins anyway. Um, but that defense is ferocious. Like nobody likes to play those guys. The connection between Burrow and Chase has been special since the moment they came in. That Chase came into the league. Burrow's unquestionably, when healthy, which he is now, a top 4 quarterback. So to see them firing on all cylinders and getting this thing back on track after a 1-3 start has been super impressive. I pretty much wrote the season off.
They were close. They were right there.
And then I have Detroit 4, just because I feel like on their day there's not many better teams. They play really way better defense, especially considering they were like in the 30s for most defensive categories last year. The offense is humming still. They're the 11th ranked passing attack by EPA per dropback. And last year, I think they were the best. They had the best passing offense in the league, and it doesn't so much mean that it's tailing off as it is reflective of a shift in offensive philosophy. Like they brought in Montgomery, drafted Gibbs so that they could run the ball more. They're 8th in EPA per rush, and their passing defense, they're 7th in EPA per dropback allowed. So they're really stout there. The pass rush is good with guys like Aiden Hutchinson growing in his second year, and I think just they're not a team that anybody likes playing. Like Goff has developed into a reliable quarterback. Ben Johnson is one of the best offensive play callers in the league, and that team really seems to like the underdog mentality and to play together.
They play very complimentary football, the Lions, with that run game and with that defense, and with Goff able to be his level of competence to above average quarterback. It's a very well-rounded football team. For me, my power rankings were also reflective of not just where they currently stand, but also where how much I believe in them as, I guess, like their championship, not stock, but capability. And so for me, the Lions aren't 4. They're they're 7 for me in terms of teams that I believe in getting to a championship and winning a championship. They're just, in terms of how they're played this year and my belief in them in a playoff setting, they just aren't at that level just yet. But I think they're a great team, and I think they're going to have a great finish to the season. I'm not ready to. They're not a real contender in my eyes just yet.
I mean, they haven't this group hasn't even made the playoffs, so it's hard for me to argue with that.
Yeah.
I just and they're 6-2, and candidly, I'm not counting their loss to their blowout loss to Baltimore maybe as much as I should. But I mean, you know how high I am on the Ravens, so I think it's just more comes across that way that I'm not willing to write off teams based on how they perform against them.
Yeah, that's fair. And 5, you said you had the Jags?
Yeah, I have Jacksonville. They're 6-2 also. They are fourth in EPA per dropback allowed, so one of the best passing defenses in the league. I think Trevor Lawrence is a top. He constantly flirts with being like a top 6 or 7 quarterback. I think on any given day he could be as high as top 5. And I think that Doug Peterson's a really good coach, and we've seen the blueprint for them winning with a good quarterback and a great defense on a team coached by him. And their running game's coming alive too. What's his face? ETN has been one of the best backs in the league this season.
I think the issue with Lawrence is that in terms of like contributions to winning and like playing football really well, he is for sure top what would you say 6? But
Yeah,
his stats, his counting stats don't reflect that. So the narrative surrounding him doesn't like accurately portray how good he is and like how important he is to their success. But
100.
so I guess so. But for me, I have them 6, so I'm not too far off on them. I still think I don't know whether it's just getting those counting stats up. I don't know if I feel like he has another level he can get to, and it could be just becoming more effective in the red zone and throwing for more touchdowns. It could just be that, and that's what is missing. Because the eye test right now isn't meeting his stats.
I
So
100% agree with that.
yeah. So for me, like that has nothing to do with their ranking, the power ranking. I just wanted to give my spiel on that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I have them 5, so I'm pretty high on them. So my team that I have, sorry, I have them 6. I have 5. I still have the 49ers. I know they hit the skids a little bit lately. They're coming off their bye now, and I'm a firm believer in teams coming out hot after the bye and making major adjustments, and that's when you see more rookies start contributing and you see certain weaknesses be ironed out a little bit, and I think Brock Purdy's struggles have been greatly exaggerated, and people are preying on his demise, which I just don't think is there. I still think he is a good quarterback in an elite system with elite weapons, and I'm sure they're going to be a little bit more healthy than they were going into it. How could they not be? And I just think they're going to come out in the second half of their season strong and be the team that we thought was going to run away with the Super Bowl earlier in the year. Maybe they won't reach those heights, but I still have a hard time. And with the addition of Chase Young, I have a hard time dropping them out of the top 5 given how good they are and how much talent they have.
I agree that they're still very much a threat to win the Super Bowl, especially coming out of the NFC. The reason that I've dropped them down, so they're 7 for me. The reason that I dropped them down so low is because their rushing defense has kind of gotten exposed a little bit over the last couple games. They're averaging negative point oh 0.02 EPA per rush, which is 26th in the league. Their pass defense is still great, and their offense, by all accounts, is still functioning at a very high level. And like you said, when they come back from the bye with a lot of the guys that have been dealing with injuries, hopefully at 100%, their offense will continue to click at the levels it was earlier this season. They added strength to their strengths by adding Chase Young with the pass rush. But one of their biggest free agent signing was Javon Hargrave right in the middle of that defense, and they're not a dominant unit against the run, and I think that is kind of what's contributed a little bit to their 3-game skid, and I think it could come back to bite them in the ass in January. But I mean, I still have them in the top 7 and coming off a 3-game losing streak. I don't know that there's many teams that I would still have that high.
So I just have a question, I guess. If you're dropping them so much because their run defense struggles, why are you not knocking the Eagles for their pass defense struggling so much?
Because it hasn't contributed to losses.
That's fair. I figured that's what you were gonna say. I don't know. It feels like if a couple things like they lost one of the games because their kicker missed 2 field goals. Like,
There's
you,
fine margins between 7 and 4 in these power rankings.
yeah. So that's all. That's all I'm saying. Is like it feels like people, not necessarily you, but people are really quick to write off the Niners. So I'm kind of holding. I feel like I'm holding my ground here, standing my ground because like someone needs to hold the line for this team.
I don't feel like I'm like writing them off though. I mean
Not you,
they
not
went
you. I said not you.
yeah. Like I think I get what you're saying. I think a lot of it is just people that expected that were wrong about like their direction over a year ago feeling vindicated now, which is not reality.
Yeah, it's a confirmation bias.
100%.
And then 6, like I said, I have the Jaguars. We already talked about them. Who did you have 6?
I had Cincy, so we also covered them.
Yeah, and then 7, I had the Lions, who I've yeah. So you're right. 4 through 7 is very fine margins.
Yeah. And then for 8, I have Dallas. They're 5-3, losing ground in the division. But I actually think this past Sunday's game against the Eagles, even though they lost, was a good performance for them. A one-score loss to the best team in the league is never really cause for a ton of concern. Their defense is still elite, ninth in both passing defense and rushing defense by EPA per dropback and rush attempt. And even their passing offense is humming, fourth in EPA per dropback. And Dak actually had a really good game against Philly, which is, I mean, I know we said their pass defense on Philly's side isn't great, but the Dallas passing offense tends to not show up in games like this, and that wasn't the case Sunday.
This loss actually solidified their position for me. So like you said, it was a good loss. There's almost nothing they can do to go that much higher than they are in my power rankings. I still think they'll find a way to blow it.
Where do you
That's
have?
Dallas. I have them 8 as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, we're right in lockstep on that. I still don't think they're a real contender, I would say. I think they're still more pretender than contender.
I tend to agree with that just because I think there's better rosters out there in the NFC.
Yeah. I guess their talent doesn't match the hype around them.
That's always going to be the case with the Cowboys, no matter how good they are, though.
That's true.
I agree because they have a lot of areas they need to improve on. I mean, they're not a great team running the ball, which I mean,
Which
they
is
have the
insane.
yeah, they have all the talent to be. And as a Tony Pollard fantasy draftor, I am quite upset about that.
Me too.
They are 15th in rushing offense.
Yeah. Pollard just hasn't looked like the same guy.
100%.
And then 9. Oh, you got 9.
Okay, 9, I have the Miami Dolphins.
So do I.
And it's I mean it's kind of Michigan-esque because the narrative around them is that they haven't or they haven't beaten a good team yet, and it's not wrong.
They really haven't.
No, and I'm pretty sure that was the narrative for a little bit last year. But their passing offense, it's impossible to deny the productivity, and by the advanced metrics, it's still by all accounts a top 2 passing offense in the league. Rushing offense, they're still miles ahead of everybody else in EPA per rush attempt. Their defense is subpar, especially their run defense. They can get gouged on the ground. So I'm not 100% sure where their ceiling is, but there's not a lot of good teams in the NFL.
I could be misstating this fact a little bit, so I apologize if I'm a little bit off, but I think it's close to right that the Dolphins haven't beaten a team that's above 500 since I think week 3 of last year.
I'm going to try to find this.
I think that might be right. September 25th, 2022.
Against who?
They beat uh they beat the Bills 21-19 in week 3. Since then they've played 6 teams over 500 including a playoff game, and they've lost every game.
That was the game where the Bills had like 80% possession, and the Dolphins
Hmm.
too had a crazy game, and everyone was like, "This is not possible."
Yeah. So, I mean, they haven't beaten anybody.
They're 6-3. They're 6-0 against teams with losing records. They're 0-3 against teams with winning records this season.
Bad teams don't destroy other bad teams that often, but good teams beat other good teams sometimes.
Bad teams don't drop 70. Also,
But
I know
yeah.
they've been cooking on that for a little bit, but like
No, I get they have an elite offense. No question. And I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm just saying they're not a good team.
they need to prove that they're better than the bottom of the top 10, though.
Hmm. And they haven't done
Um,
so yet.
no. Who do you close this out with? This exercise?
I have the Browns 10, similar to why I have the Dolphins 9. The Dolphins have an elite offense and a subpar defense. The Browns have an elite defense and a subpar offense. I think their offense actually looked pretty decent with Deshaun coming back this week. Nothing like insane. They were going up against the Cardinals, so it's nothing to write home about. But I think that Browns defense is legit. I think all they need out of Deshaun is for him to just be solid. They don't need much. They need to play complementary football, run the ball. Jerome Ford looks good. He's healthy again. He had the quickest high ankle sprain recovery of all time. And I just think if he can be a game manager, like a solid game manager, the Browns are good. And so I know you differed on who you had 10, but I went and thought, what team would you not want to play in the playoffs? And it's the Browns over
Yeah,
the other teams that are available.
like you said, their defense is insane. They're by a country mile the best defense in EPA in terms of EPA per dropback, with negative 0.31 EPA per dropback. They're one of the best rushing defenses, top 4 in the league too. Their actual offense, like you said, it needs to take a step forward because Deshaun has been bad, but certainly the talent is there. Myles Garrett is the biggest game wrecker in the NFL today. They're super well coached by Jim Schwartz, and it's not a team you want to play in the playoffs. A defense that good.
Yeah, exactly.
Denver rode it to a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning throwing ducks all season.
Peyton literally couldn't throw.
Yeah,
It was insane.
won a bowl though. Sheriff rides away.
Mm-hmm.
The last team I have here is Seattle. Similar to Detroit, I'm just not going to hold that Ravens loss against them too much. They have a really good rushing attack, 6th in EPA per rushing attempt. Their defense needs work, but a lot of the pieces are there. Woolen's a superstar. Witherspoon's a stud. Jamal Adams is terrible, but that's for another day. I like the idea to beef up their defense with Lenny Williams, even though I think giving up a second for a team that is not guaranteed to win their own division is a little aggressive. But when you're tied record wise with the 49ers at this point in the season, I think you owe it to yourself to be aggressive, especially with a quarterback making $30+ million a season. Like we said, Geno is not somebody that will raise a subpar team to the playoffs or championship condition, but with a good roster around him and good coaching, which certainly exists here, they're gonna make the playoffs and they could win a game or two.
So I guess my question is, why do you rate them over the Browns?
I think just the offense, like the Browns, I I've just seen so much bad quarterback play from Cleveland that that can only take you so far. It's only taken the Bears so far. Countless times we see the Jets like with a championship caliber defense and no quarterback. And in a division like that, it's going to get hard to win games late if you're not getting that production. Like you can't count on. I mean, you're just gonna. They've played Minshew, they've played Clayton Tune, and I agree that their defense is really good. But when you're playing Lamar and Joe Burrow like going forward, and you're playing I guess they finished. I guess they finished last in the division last year, so they're not going to be playing that many other good AFC teams outside of their division. But I don't know. I just think you need to see more out of the offense. It, there's not 10 good teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I think we grade on a different scale sometimes with our good, great, grand definitions, but I think it's fair.
Yeah, that's unless you have anything else to add there. That's the power rankings.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty all right. Just quickly, like, are the Browns top 12 for you?
Yes, I was between them and Seattle for the last spot.
Okay, so I mean, we're not our biggest. No, we really weren't that far off because even I had
Neither of
it
us
was
had Buffalo though.
Buffalo's not a top 10 team.
I agree with that.
Josh Allen's great.
You know what's
He's
nuts though?
what?
The Bills are second in point differential, plus
Yeah,
80.
I saw you sent that stat. Yeah, I know. They're just I don't know. They're not a complete team in any stretch of the imagination.
No, they're a very incomplete team with one complete player.
When your quarterback's that good, it can raise the level around them for sure, but is what it is. I just think those injuries to their defense crushed them. I think they
100%
could
their
have
season.
been if healthy, they're a top 10 team, but they're just not healthy and they're not going to be.
Yeah, not this year.
Yeah. So, you ready to go on to awards?
I am ready to go on to awards.
All right. You want to go first?
I kicked off the power rankings.
Okay, so I'll go first. All right,
right.
so I'm giving out my first award is the Be Careful What You Wish For award.
Is this going to Giants fans?
It's going to Giants fans and me. It's actually me. Because I
Is this
said
because
that.
you were tanking and now you have to watch this putrid excuse for a team?
Yeah. Because I said I've said honestly for a few weeks now that I was ready to embrace the tank. And I've gotten even stronger with my stance in saying that I hope they don't score a point for the rest of the season. And I've been saying that. And now that points are so hard to come by, it's it is hard to watch, man. It is brutal out here.
Oh, I've been there. It seems like such a good idea until you realize that you got to watch 10 more games of this.
Yeah, it's tough. And there's no hope. And I don't want hope. That's the thing is I don't want hope, but I'd like you can't even enjoy Saquon right now because the offense is so inept. It's bittersweet also because I've been pretty ride or die with Daniel Jones. I've believed in him a lot, and I still do believe he's talented. And if put behind, I think his career plays out very differently if he's drafted somewhere else. So it sucks that I'm not saying it's the end of the Daniel Jones era as we know it. I think they're going to draft a quarterback really early, and I'm pretty excited for that to happen. The product is stale, but God, it's just they're so awful. They're so bad.
There's a good way to tank, and this is like the good way to tank is like what the Bears were doing last year, where Fields was rushing for 1,000 yards a game and they would still lose.
Yeah, we don't have any of that. I guess we got Kayvon looks great. We have some pieces. That's the thing is we have some pieces. We've got three elite pieces that I think I can say. We've got Andrew Thomas, Kayvon I think is getting there, and Dexter Lawrence. But the good teams have 12 elite pieces and a lot of good pieces. We've got 3 and no good pieces. So I mean a couple, but they're all young.
It's going to be a long season.
It is. I hope they're not. I hope this isn't one of those they sneak out a bullshit win late in the season and get the 5th pick and then end up getting the fucking what's his face JJ McCarthy
Bo Oh,
or Bo Nix. I don't want that. I want Drake May. I want Caleb Williams, and at the very least, I want Penix.
you want to do it right, yeah.
Yeah, I want a real quarterback. I want a real top prospect quarterback. I want a guy that I can believe in to be my franchise guy for the next 15 years. Not a guy that Everything around them needs to be perfect, and I don't want a guy you can win with. I want a guy who's going to win you games.
You just had the guy you can win with, and it's no fun.
It's not fun. So that's my first award.
So my first award is actually pretty closely related. It's the best QB in New York award.
Is it Josh Allen?
No,
The best QB in New York award. Certainly not Zach Wilson.
it's not Zach Wilson.
Is it
So
Eli Manning?
it's not Eli Manning.
Okay, just tell me what it is.
So this you could throw the red challenge flag here because I came up with this award today, but since then, this player
Is
has
it?
been signed to a new team.
Oh,
He's
Wentz.
going Wentz off the Giants
Yeah,
practice
now he's on
squad.
the Rams.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
ill-timed player personnel move, but the best quarterback in New York award with all the injuries and all the Zach Wilson is Carson Wentz.
All the Zach Wilson. All the Zach Wilson truthers. I was honestly like, I usually don't prey on the Jets' downfall like actively, but they've been really delusional lately, Jets fans. Like really pushing the Zach Wilson narrative. It's pushing it on to people who don't want it. I don't want that. I don't want to believe in Zach Wilson. I won't do it. And no matter how many BS YouTube videos you send me, I'm not going to. I don't care. You can skew stats to make them say whatever you want them to say. Like if you find the right ones. Like that it is what it is. So I'm happy they got stomped in last night. I am. And their defense is so good. Justin Herbert threw for like 140 yards, and they still got blown out.
It's reaching the national NFL correspondence too, because I saw a couple guys tweet out like there were Zach Wilson is getting better takes last week. ... Like national NFL reporters.
Yeah. Like, again, he has gotten better, but he's not good. That doesn't make him good. Just because you're better than like horrific doesn't mean you're good now. That's not how that works.
This is the opposite of the Nas thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. I can't even it's like who was it? Like Lil Pump. Like Lil Pump had like one really good song, but like that doesn't make Lil Pump like a good rapper.
No, yeah.
Ridiculous. But yeah, Carson Wentz was the best quarterback in New York.
Was, yeah.
Now it might be Matt Barkley.
Matt Barkley, the last time he started a game, I think was for the Bears.
Yeah, it was 2021, I think I saw.
Oh, then it wasn't the Bears.
Oh, I mean, I could be wrong. You could be right. But
no, you're probably right. I mean, a while ago, I guess.
All right. On to my second award. This is the Little Einsteins Award.
So I never watched the show Little Einsteins, but I'm going to
go
with
the theme
something
song?
that. Yeah, I was going to go with something that was transformed into just an insanely cool, like trap
No,
song.
not that. It has to do with rocket ships and geniuses.
Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs, literal rocket scientist. And he deserved an award this week. We talked about it a lot, and so I don't need to go too far into it, but I love Josh Dobbs. I love everything about this story. I think I heard he's on his 5th team in the last year, which is nuts.
5th team in the last 12 months, I think.
Yeah, that's insane, dude. Actually
5th
insane.
Team,
that is 5th team since what?
6th situation, because he was on Cleveland twice.
Cleveland, then Detroit, then Tennessee, then Cleveland, then Arizona, Minnesota. And he's actually like, he might not be the guy, but he's a guy.
Dude, he started like a win and in playoff game last year for the Titans, and then he started and almost won a couple games for the tanking Cardinals this year, and then this stuff. Like, he might be the guy for everybody. He might just never stick with one franchise. Everybody's temporary guy.
He could just be like the new Teddy Bridgewater. Like the perfect bridge quarterback.
Yeah, he's going to make a fortune on backup quarterback salaries.
Yeah, like Tyrod Taylor. Who else is there? Gardner
Now
Minshew
Minshew.
now. Yeah, like Fitzmagic. Like
Yeah.
backup quarterbacks who are like far and away like the best backup quarterbacks, but just like aren't the guy,
Jameis Winston, apparently.
apparently. Sadly.
Um, my my second award is the Kevin Durant Award.
The Kevin Durant Award. Does this have to do with his I have a couple of thoughts. One was from something I saw today was about how Kevin Durant may have never been the best player in the league at any given time.
It's not that, but
Is it about him?
I've expressed my thinking about that with Kobe too in the past.
Is it about him forcing his way out of situations?
Mm-mm.
Is it going to Wembenyama?
No, it's not. It's not going to a basketball player.
Okay, just tell me.
Kevin Durant was the second overall pick in his draft,
Oh,
and no contest who should have gone 1-1 in that one.
Greg Oden got hurt.
I know. Doesn't
I
matter.
know. I know.
Kevin
I
Durant was
just
the
feel
best player in the country in that draft.
I know. I just feel bad picking on guys who got hurt. Greg Oden was really, really good. I'm not so sure that Bryce Young is going to be good.
I'm pretty confident that if he doesn't get hurt, he'll be good.
He looked awful.
It's less about the Greg Oden thing than it is about
No,
like
I know.
the
I know.
best
I know.
draft going number 2.
I know. I just like I don't know, man. Bryce Young looked really bad. Like really bad.
He did, but part of the reason I'm not super concerned for that reason is because it's not things that Bryce Young has done ever that we saw in the past and we're like maybe this could cause issues. This is just like he is drowning in Carolina and just trying to come up with anything.
You're right.
There's a real chance that he could be developing bad habits that will scar him going forward. But I don't think it's like a this is Bryce Young kind of thing yet.
That's fair. And we said coming into the year, we both were all over it that he was going to have a rough time. We said that before the season started. So like we knew this, but I think I gave him an award at some point for just like he hasn't shown me anything. Like I haven't seen a single like I saw more from Will Levis in that one game than Bryce Young has shown me. Really, he hasn't had one like star performance. Like okay, I'm sure that this guy is going to be the guy. Maybe not this year, but in the future. Like he hasn't done that. Like, I've seen more from Sam Howell than I've seen from Bryce Young.
I'm just inclined to believe that Bryce Young is really good at being a quarterback, and that doesn't mean that he can lift like a really shitty situation, and it doesn't mean that I think the window for him being the best quarterback in this draft class is even open still because I'm pretty like ready to put the nail in the coffin on like them should have taken CJ Stroud at this point. But I'm not ready to close the window on him being the second best quarterback in this class yet.
I'm not either. I didn't mean to say that I think Levis is better. I just meant in terms of
Oh, you did.
yeah, okay. Just I think also there's something here in that you watched a lot more of Bryce Young in college than I did. So you have a lot more to pull from, a lot more evidence from back then of like, okay, I've seen this guy be amazing. Whereas I don't have all that much of that. So for me, basing it off of what I've seen in the NFL and like not just being like, okay, this guy's the first overall pick, like he must be good. That's where I think that's why you're probably giving him a lot more wiggle room than I am.
Yeah, and look, the size concerns are legitimate. There's times where I'm watching the Panthers games and he looks tiny,
Tiny,
and that
so small.
tiny, yeah. But there's other times where I'm watching a Panthers game and I see 4 unblocked D linemen in his face and him trying to run away. So like it's just kind of how much can anybody do in this situation? And certainly I think they made the mistake picking him over CJ Stroud. There's not much to argue that now besides maybe saying let's wait and see, but I'm ready to say that they should have taken Stroud, but and that like this award is about Stroud, but I
Yeah,
don't know. I need to give them time to see. I would just like to see him with a better team because there's not many guys that could have any measure of success in that situation now, I think.
Totally fair. Last word on this, and then we can move on to bold prediction. I haven't seen a star quality. That's all. I haven't seen something I can point to and be like, all right, like even for let's say Kyler Murray, like I don't think Kyler's that good, but he did some things when he was rolling out of the pocket and making some throws and escaping pressure and like some of the things Kyler's done, like it's like, man, that guy is electric at his best. I've like even Sam Howell, like I've seen him throw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like I've seen plays, I've seen glimpses. I just haven't seen it from Bryce Young. That's all.
I guess because Bryce Young's game is a little more like
But what star plays like that?
mm, Bruce said Burrow, and it's not wrong, but it's not Burrow like creates more. I think.
Yeah, Burrow's got a lot more creativity, and also you saw Burrow's talent. It was so evident even right away, even behind that shit O line.
All right, you want to know my honest answer, and it's going to sound crazy. It's Brady.
Okay.
Like nobody, I've never seen anybody do like be better at quarterbacking at that level than Bryce Young, and like he can't create something out of nothing. But if you give him a lemon, not many people are going to be able to maximize the juice you get from that than him. It's just there's nothing there to do that with now.
That's fair, but I guess I don't see what makes Bryce Young better than Brock Purdy.
There's been nothing to see so far.
So that's all. And like Brock Purdy might be really good. I've maintained that I think he's good. But like he's not a superstar. He's not what you want if you have the first overall pick in a draft, you don't want that.
You don't want that, and you especially don't want the second pick to be doing what he's doing.
Yeah. Like Bryce Young feels like a guy you can win with, not a guy who wins. That's all.
I agree with that.
All right. Bold prediction of the year.
Of the week.
Let's do it. You started off.
Okay. I don't know how familiar you are with the drama that's unfolding at New York Sports Radio's premier station, WFAN 101.9 on FM radio, but they had Giants legend Carl Banks on for 15 years for a weekly spot, and then the newer midday hosts hung up on him when they were getting into an argument over Kayvon Thibodeau because he was coming off a good game, and they were criticizing him. And Carl Banks was like, "Dudes, like, are you ever gonna look for something good to say about this guy?" And they basically just hung up on him. So my bold prediction of the year of the week is that WFAN will announce the departure of Sal Licata from the midday program, and they will replace him with Rick DiPietro.
Wow, okay.
Based on nothing besides what the events that I described unfolding. There's no rumors of DiPietro.
Isn't Gio popping off too lately?
Yeah, he's losing his mind. Like losing his mind. He's being like a total asshole on Twitter and stuff.
I saw that. It was the best thing that ever happened to whatever that guy's book was.
The Gary something, yeah.
I can't remember his name, but it was a Giants book. But I saw a million tweets like, "I'm just buying this guy's book because fuck this guy."
Yeah,
like I don't even like the Giants, but I'm buying it.
Once a Giant by Gary something. Buy it out on Amazon.
Yep. All right. My bold prediction of the year of the week is continuing on our trend of Josh Dobbs discussions. Josh Dobbs will continue his Cinderella story, his Fitz Magic-esque story, and they will upset the Saints. Saints are favored by 2.5 this week, and the Saints are actually pretty good and playing pretty well. But the Vikings have a little bit of Team of Destiny vibe to them right now. And I am just riding the train. And I want more reasons to root for the guy.
And if they win, they're 6-4, and that keeps playoff hopes alive, and Jefferson coming back more likely by the week.
100%. All right, that about does it. I will give us our little endy thing that I do. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts on all social medias. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter /X, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. I think that's all of them. Yep.
And then we
And
have the giveaway.
yes, the helmet giveaway will be announced next week during next week's episode. Very exciting stuff. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page and follow us on Instagram to enter. Yeah, we will. It's pretty exciting stuff. And we'll announce the winner on our Instagram story as well in case people aren't listening on YouTube or whatever it may be. So it'll be on multiple platforms, but you got to claim it to win it. If you don't claim it, we're going to have to redraw it, and I don't want to do that.
Cool. Thanks, Tom. Thank you, Producer Roo. Thank you, Mikey Caps. This was episode 29 of the Breaks Down podcast, powered by 528 Collectibles. We will see you next week.
See you next week.